Hello students, I am Sonali. Welcome to my class of biology. Today we are going to learn about outbreeding devices in the chapter reproduction. But first we have to see about what is meant by inbreeding, what is meant by inbreeding depression, and why there is a need of outbreeding devices. So first we will see what is inbreeding. As we know that pollination has two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. So inbreeding is nothing but the self-pollination. In self-pollination, pollen grains of the same flower transfer toward the stigma of the same flower, and then pollination will occur and then fertilization, right? And due to the continuous self-pollination, due to the continuous breeding from the self-pollination, it can cause a inbreeding depression, because inbreeding means the production of offspring or progeny from the individual or organism which are closely related genetically. So it can cause a genetic depression. What is genetic depression? So due to the inability of an organism to reproduce because of reduced fertility strength, and the process leads to depreciated productivity also, means it will give a less productivity. So inbreeding among the same group in successive generation leads to decreased productivity and fertility. For example, I have given of this plant. Okay. So due to the inbreeding depression, it will cause the less strength of the plant, that is less vigor, less fertility, less reproductive capacity of the plant. It will give a less production of the plant, less yield also, and the plant become weaker and shorter in size like this. It will give a less productivity. So as considering this point, nature has already produced another option for inbreeding, that is the outbreeding. And outbreeding is nothing but the cross pollination, and for that some methods are developed, so that is known as some devices that I will explain later. And why there is a need of outbreeding, that many plants have a mechanically that discourage or prevent self pollination. To promote cross pollination and increase genetic diversity, plants have evolved a wide variety of sexual strategies. Genetic diversity is an essential factor for evolution by natural selection. Continuous self-pollination results in inbreeding depression. Thus, plants have developed many devices to encourage cross-pollination. So, which are that devices? We will see. That is unisexuality, dichogamy, in that protandry and protogyny, prepotency, self-incompatibility, pollen-pistil interaction. So first we will see what is meant by unisexuality. Unisexuality means the plant bears either male or female flowers. It is called as dioecious plant or dioecious. See this diagram. In this only female sex and here only male sex is present. How the self-pollination will occur here and how here? So as flowers are unisexual, self-pollination is not possible. So plants may be monoecious, means like this. Here the male sex also present and female sex also present. It is a bisexual plant. For example, maize, here male sex present here and female sex present here. And example of dioecious plant is papaya. So this is the one device of outbreeding method. Now another one is dichogamy. So what is dichogamy? Here anther and stigma mature at different times in a bisexual flower. So as to prevent self-pollination, main aim is to prevent from the plant from self-pollination. For that, it can further divided again into two types, and the types are protandry and the protogyny. In protandry, androecium mature earlier than gynoecium. Means here the androecium, that is the anther pollen grain part, is mature first than the stigma, means gynoecium. So this is the stigma which mature after androecium. So it is receptive stigma, protandry. Then in protogyny, in this type, gynoecium mature earlier than the androecium. For example, gloriosum. So here stigma is mature first and here anther is mature after. Means gynoecium is mature first here than the androecium. It is second method of the outbreeding. Now what is meant by prepotency? Prepotency is nothing but the ability of pollen from one source to bring about fertilization more readily than that from the other source. Right? So pollen grains of other flower germinate rapidly over the stigma than the pollen grains from the same flower. For example, apple. Now, see there are two types again, that is the heterostyle and hercogamy. What happened in heterostyle? To prevent the plant from self-pollination, it produces two types of flower with different length of style. Hetero means different and the style. For example, primrose. Here long style and short anther. Here short style and long anther. So it is the heterostyle. Now hercogamy, it is the rectangular stigma is positioned above the level of anther. For example, Calotropis. See the diagram of hercogamy in Calotropis. Here rectangular stigma is present above the anther, and Calotropis is an example of approach hercogamy where anther are below the stigma and stigma is above the anther. Here anther are above the stigma, reverse hercogamy, and here the hercogamy is absence. So these are the types of hercogamy in Calotropis. Next device is self-incompatibility, that is self-sterility. In self-incompatibility is the another method to prevent the plant from self-pollination, that is the genetic mechanism due to which germination of pollen on the stigma of same flower is inhibited. Means there is it is inhibited the pollination of the same flower. For example, tobacco. See here pollination in the same flower is rejected, but the pollination from the another flower is accepted. Here the pollen grains by honeybee from another flower land on the stigma of the another flower. So it is accepted. Now next method is pollen pistil interaction. What is pollen pistil interaction? It is the interaction of pollen grains with saprophytic tissue, that is stigma. It begins with pollination and ends with fertilization. All the events from the deposition of pollen grains on the stigma to the entry of pollen tube in the ovule are referred as pollen pistil interaction. Means when the pollen grains land on the stigma, it will enter into the ovule by pollen tube. And this pollen tube pushes the pollen grains into the synergid for the fertilization process. Here the pollination process, and after that here in female gametophyte fertilization process will occur. And due to this pollen pistil interaction, it will cause by the presence of chemicals onto the stigma into the female gametophyte, and the due to pollen pistil interaction, intense competition develop in the compatible pollen grains also. It also plays an important role in sexual reproduction and seed formation, and pollen grain can also be induced to germinate in a synthetic medium. This is nothing but the pollen pistil interaction. This is totally called pollen pistil interaction. So thank you students. I already explained in previous videos also. So thank you very much.